to become a bridge between worlds meant to be walked upon by monsters. Layla, the Red Queen, smiled a smile that could freeze the sun. She declared that the right to return to the mortal realm must be bought with blood and spirit. The obsidian floor beneath us expanded into an infinite amphitheater of shifting shadows. The spectators were not random demons, but the organized tribes of the Jinn nations. I saw the blue Jinn of the deep oceans, their skin shimmering like wet sapphire scales. I saw the yellow Jinn of the sickness winds, their bodies thin and vibrating with pestilence. I saw the flying Jinn hovering in the air, their wingspan casting long shadows over the court. I saw the ghouls crouching in the corners with eyes that hungered for dead flesh. And closest to the throne stood the Red Jinn, the tribe of fire and anger, Layla's own kin. She announced that my inner light would be tested against the absolute extremes of her kingdom. From the swirling mist emerged a creature of such profound beauty it caused my heart to ache. She was a Jinnia of the aerial tribes, woven from moonlight and stardust. Her feet did not touch the ground, and the air around her smelled of blooming jasmine and rain. She floated toward me with eyes that mirrored my deepest, unfulfilled earthly desires. Her voice was a hypnotic melody that promised an eternity of peace and absolute surrender. She whispered that the burden of human morality was too heavy for my fragile shoulders. She gently reached out a glowing hand, offering to extract the agonizing light from my chest. I felt an overwhelming wave of exhaustion wash over me, making my knees buckle. The seductive magic seeped into my veins, dulling my survival instincts and blinding my logic. I was horrifyingly close to giving up and stepping forward to embrace her deadly illusion. Her fingers grazed my chest, and a numbing venom began to freeze my beating heart. But the memory of my pious grandfather flashed before my eyes, piercing the hypnotic veil. I realized her breathtaking beauty was merely a mask covering a hollow, decaying void. I forced my paralyzed lips to move and whispered the supreme name of the Creator. The moment the sacred syllable left my mouth, it manifested as a blinding physical force. A shockwave of pure golden energy erupted from my lips, striking her flawless face. The beautiful Jinnia shrieked in an unnatural, guttural tone as her illusion violently shattered. She dissolved into a swarm of white moths, fleeing back into the dark mist. Layla laughed, a sound of crushing thunder, acknowledging my victory over the illusion of desire. But the queen warned that surviving temptation was nothing compared to surviving absolute wrath. The arena shook violently as the second champion stepped onto the obsidian floor. He was a Marid of the Black Seas, a towering giant of muscle and ancient Carl armor. His skin was the color of the bruised ocean depths, and his breath smelled of salt and storms. He wielded a massive trident forged from the bones of drowned sailors. The Marid roared, and the sheer acoustic pressure of the sound threw me backward. I hit the ground hard, tasting the metallic tang of my own blood in this spiritual realm. The giant lunged at me, swinging the devastating weapon with terrifying speed. I rolled away just in time, feeling the cold dampness of the strike singe my mortal skin. I was entirely outmatched, possessing no physical weapons to defend myself against a titan. The Marid raised his trident for a final, crushing blow, aiming directly for my skull. Instinctively, I raised my hands and screamed the first verse of the chapter of Taha. the Arabic letters materialized in the air, burning with an incandescent white fire. The glowing script formed a solid, translucent shield right above my head. The massive weapon smashed into the floating letters and shattered into 1,000 shards of ice. The Marid stumbled back, staring at his broken weapon in absolute disbelief. I felt the divine light in my chest surge, connecting with the words on my tongue. I realized that in this realm of pure spirit, my faith was the deadliest weapon in existence. I stood up and began reciting the verses of protection with unwavering, furious conviction. Every holy word I spoke transformed into a glowing spear of pure, radiant energy. I hurled the vocalized weapons at the giant, and they pierced his indestructible armor with ease. The Marid roared in agonizing pain as the divine light burned him from the inside out. He charged one last time in a desperate, blind rush of apocalyptic violence. I shouted the final verse, and a blinding pillar of light erupted from the obsidian ground. The colossal jinn collided with the pillar and evaporated into a cloud of harmless sea foam. Silence fell over the arena, absolute and heavy, as the tribes of jinn recoiled in fear. Layla, the Red Queen, slowly descended from her throne, clapping her pale hands in slow rhythm. She looked at me not as a pathetic mortal plaything, but as a formidable mystery. She declared that the trial was over and that I had carved my own way out of the abyss. She revealed that the cosmic balance requires guardians who have tasted both the light and the dark. She pointed a long, regal finger at my chest, acknowledging the metamorphosis of my soul. She told me I was no longer a victim, but an anchor, holding the veil between our worlds intact. The queen raised her hand, and the entire underworld began to spin into a violent vortex. The shadows rushed toward me, wrapping my body like a cold, suffocating cocoon. I closed my eyes as the sensation of falling overtook me, tearing me away from the jinn court. I slammed onto a hard surface, gasping violently for air as my lungs expanded with oxygen. I opened my eyes and found myself lying on the familiar rug of my grandfather's office. The warm, golden light of the afternoon sun was streaming through the wooden window shutters. I lay there trembling, feeling the solid reality of the wooden floor beneath my sweating palms. I immediately noticed that the oppressive atmosphere that had haunted the house was completely gone. I took a deep breath and realized the putrid, rotting smell of the curse had entirely vanished. Instead, the air was filled with the faint, comforting scent of old paper and pure musk. The cursed ring that Kashram had given me was no longer on my finger. The Codex of Shadows lay closed on the desk, its dark leather cover looking ordinary and powerless. I stood up, feeling an incredible lightness in my body, as if a mountain had been lifted off my back. Dries entered the room quietly, his face breaking into a wide, knowing smile. He looked at me and nodded, confirming that he understood exactly where I had been. He placed a warm, comforting hand on my shoulder and told me the initiation was finally complete. He explained that I had not been chosen to be a sorcerer, but tested to become something much greater. I had been selected by the divine will to become one of the 40 Abdal. The Abdal are the hidden spiritual pillars of the earth, tasked with maintaining the cosmic balance. They are the silent guardians who walk among ordinary men, preventing the darkness from overflowing. My terrifying descent into the underworld was the necessary crucible to forge my spiritual authority. I had faced the Queen of the Abyss and returned without surrendering my human soul. This victory granted me the power to seal the demonic portals and protect the innocent.
I promised myself I would honor my grandfather's true legacy by defending the fragile mortal veil. I took the Codex of Shadows, wrapped it in heavy white cloth, and locked it away forever. But as I turned the key in the rusted lock, a chilling sensation washed over my spine. The supernatural world would never truly leave me alone, and I was no longer entirely human either. I walked over to the tall mirror in the corner of the office to inspect my face. My eyes held a deep, ancient calm, carrying the weight of the horrors I had survived. But as I blinked, my reflection in the glass did not blink back at the exact same time.